Men of Reddit, what is a 100% myth about men? Write in the comments what you think about this. Enjoy the show. Story 1. Shaving your chest does not, in fact, make the hair grow larger than before. In fact, shaving anywhere in general doesn't spur on heavier growth. It just feels that way because you're shaving your parts as you're still growing into the adult you will be. The only time you will see heavier hair growth as you age is your eyebrows, ear hair, nose hair, and facial hair. After the fact of puberty, of course. Story 2. I bet you guys tell your friend all the details about what you get up to in the bedroom. In my experience, it's way more taboo among guys to tell any actual details of what happened. Meanwhile, girls I'm friends with will gleefully tell me exactly how big the guy was, what positions they did, how long he lasted, any incidents which occurred in the process, the works. Story 3. That if a man compliments you, he's hitting on you. The best part of hitting 55 and having gray hair is that I can now give a woman a sincere compliment without her thinking I'm trying to hit on her. Damn it all, we can give compliments without having 33 layers of meaning beneath it. Story 4. Vasectomies hurt or make you less of a man. It's bullshit. They are quick and easy. While there might be pain, I guarantee that you have felt worse pain in your life. Grow some ovaries and take control of birth control in your life. Don't let it all fall on your partner. Story 5. By far the largest myth about men is that they are less emotional or have better emotional control than women. By many, many metrics, that is clearly untrue. Men commit more crime than women, and the more emotional the crime, the greater the discrepancy. In childhood, girls have better executive function than boys. This evens out somewhat when some males finally mature in their 30s. In sports, men dominate because of larger and stronger musculature. The more a sport requires emotional self-control, the smaller the gap. In other words, if you gave women the musculature and cardiovascular capacity of males, they would dominate in any sport requiring high executive function, that is, emotional self-control. Women survive the death of their partners far better than men. Men are far more likely to give up and kill themselves than women. There are many more, but those are some of the what should be if men weren't also more self-deluded than women. Most obvious. I am before the red pills. I'm a totally CIS straight white male, so middle finger to you. Story 6. We don't talk about sex to our friends if it is with someone we love. We don't talk about sex if we are in a committed relationship. Any guy who talks about sex all the time is actually very annoying. If you fart in your sleep, though, we know about that. We absolutely talk about how much you fart in your sleep. Story 7. That we have emotions we're pretty dead inside from all the neglect, even from the family. We either go empty or accept it as is and watch it get worse and critically hit every once in a while. The holding on to the old lady that said I had a nice hat years ago to get out of bed is very real and not a myth. Story 8. Man sick might actually be worse than a woman being sick. My man colds are stronger than I am, and that is saying a lot. My partner in life will cough twice, go to a workout, and that's it. Then I catch it, and I'm floored for about 10, 15 days. I might need to go to the doctor and see about my immune system. Story 9. Not a man, but I tried to reply to someone else's comment about compliments, and it's been deleted, so I can't put it there, so I'm putting it here. Men need compliments. For real, I know it's a meme, but they really do not get complimented enough. Especially if you're a woman, you will not understand this. My finance tells me I'm beautiful every since day, and half the time I shrug it off because, meh, I don't feel pretty. I've been hit on too often. You're wearing rose-tinted glasses, and actually I'm in my pajamas and look like a goblin. Whatever. I told my fiancé he was extra handsome tonight, maybe 3 nights ago. The way he has basked in this for days and has brought it up almost hourly since has made me realize I do not compliment his looks nearly as much as I should. I often tell him he's adorable or cute or his food is good or I'm proud of him. But I have fucked up and do not tell him I'm attracted to him nearly as much as I should. And dudes need that too. Story 10. All men are jerks. That is total BS. Like if you girls date those cool guys with stupid pickup lines or those bad boys or any type of these popular options or those who had many dates or girlfriends, actually it is not good. They might be jerks, but like most of the guys try to live good life and are normal guys. Nothing bad about them. Story 11. We're not heartless robots on purpose. Men have feelings too. We don't talk about them because we're taught from an early age that feeling anything other than rage or horny somehow makes us less. Sometimes we just want to talk about life without being judged or dismissed. And if you can provide that outlet for a man, you'll have a friend for life. I think that's why gaming is such a big deal for a lot of men. It can be social, it can be a stress reliever, it can guide us mentally through places in our mind we can't reach normally. Story 12, I got 2. First, not all men are assholes or bad people. Your bad experience with a man doesn't define the population of the gender. I've had bad experiences with women and don't hold it against every woman I meet. Second, blue balls absolutely is a real thing. I've experienced it myself once and it's terrible. The pain is 10x worse than getting kicked in the nuts. Story 13. Most of us are not lovable, bumbling idiots. There's a stereotype perpetuated by American sitcoms that dads are these non-threatening clowns. And in both good ways and bad, that's just not usually the case. I guess it's easier to write a comedy when the male lead is a clown versus the most likely suspect if his wife is ever murdered. Story 14. That we are different mentally from women. We're the same. We have the same brains, thoughts, fears, needs, wants. We're all human just the same. Guys like cute stuff, dressing up, and we like romance movies. We're not a different species. We are the same as you. It's unfortunate segregation is so enforced, so have empathy for us the same as anyone else. Story 15. Women who agonize over whether they should have slept with him on the date or not. It doesn't matter. If he is into you, he will call back. I've heard many women lament, often continuously for hours, that they slept with him too soon, and that's why he lost interest. My sisters in Christ, if he is into you, I promise you, you did not put him off by sleeping with him. Men will not stop liking you because you were too easy. And if all he wanted from you was sex, then withholding sex isn't going to magically make him interested in your personality and a monogamous relationship. Story 16. IDK, most of these myths are pretty true about me. I like sports. I think about sex a lot. But I do cry. Usually it's when I'm spacing out in church, imagining myself foiling a terrorist plot and how much of a star it would make me. And I'd thank Bruce Willis movies. And then Bruce would FaceTime me, and even though he's kind of you-gots these days, he'd still recognize me for being the man of the moment. Story 17. That we always want sex and will hop in the sack with any person of our preferred gender who asks. No, we're tired. No, we're not attracted to you. Yes, we like you, but not like that. Maybe when you've sobered up, because right now I have doubts about consent. No, you're 21, and I'm old enough to be your grandfather. Please find someone closer to your own age, etc., etc. Story 18. That we are always calm and that we don't want to express ourselves. We definitely do. Some of us are just afraid of getting judged, even if it's for sharing something small. A lot of us grew up in an environment that told us to suck it up for traumatic experiences, not like scraping our knees, no, for stuff we should have cried over, but didn't. Men don't let it bottle up inside, to the point it all comes out on someone you care about. Please talk about it. Story 19. That they're having lots of sex with a bunch of people. Like 2% of men, maybe. The rest, no. There was always this stereotype of, it's okay for men sleep around because it makes you cool, but if a woman does it, she's a slut. But yeah, the men who sleep around are just the top percentage, and most men can't easily find someone to have sex with. The stereotype is actually more applicable to women because it's inverse, and like 98% of women can find someone to have sex with most of the time. I think in the US that the average number of partners for a man is way, way less than for women. Story 20. That they just are willing to consent anytime. I was trapped and taken very far away from any city. Then she said something, and I replied with a not a yes to her question. She took my first kiss, making out. Then a while later in her car, off in distance. She tried to suck me off for the first time, saying she was in an open with a star of adult entertainment. It was horrible, and I felt abused. Saying her name, because I don't remember it beyond it being Taylor something. Taylor Swift. Cannot confirm or deny it was who hides beyond the media's cherishing. She did talk to my friend who also survived a traumatic brain injury and is a superfan. Story 21. That men celebrate champion promiscuity amongst other men. Men doesn't see promiscuous men as any more of suitable partner than promiscuous women. It's just that promiscuous men have already removed themselves from the straight male dating pool by being male. Sorry, Pamela, I'm just not interested anymore. You went home Jimmy last weekend, and that's a huge turnoff. Why does that matter? You don't have a problem with Jimmy. I can sleep with whomever I want. You're just slut-shaming. I'm not interested in Jimmy either. He is a man. That too. Look, me and you can still be friends, just like me and Jimmy are still friends. I'm just not sexually interested in you anymore, just like I'm not sexually interested in Jimmy. We can think of it as a NOR gate. There are two conditions that need to be met for my hypothetical dating pool. Not man and not promiscuous. Because men already fail the not man check, there's no overt consequence for failing the not promiscuous check. Story 22. My country has mandatory military service. I do not like to be or proud of being soldier at all. When I do through it, I do not feel manly. Patriarchy is not only harmful to women, also to men. Number 1 for military service conscription, man on mass in murder and other crimes, worst jobs, war crime victims, circumcision, incarceration, etc. Story 23. That we don't mind when women make jokes about us turning the house into a pigsty when we're left alone, can't turn on a vacuum cleaner, can only open cans of soup for dinner, and are generally incompetent boobs when it comes to traditional women's work. Gender-based stereotypes for women and men are not useful and seldom funny. Story 24, men only think about one thing. Girl, I think about sex, yes. When I don't think about sport, work, the stock market, real estate, politics, philosophy, the Roman Empire, etc. But you don't care about most of these things, so we cannot discuss about it. Story 25, that men don't ask for directions. True story. A woman out in the country just outside of the town I live in had some guy knock on her door asking for directions. She noticed another individual sitting in the vehicle. She told him, "Can't help you," and closed the door and immediately called the police. Police responded and found the vehicle and the two guys in it. Apparently, they were just knocking on doors and then breaking in if no one answered. The police asked the woman why she called the police. She said, "Men don't ask for directions, busted." Story 26. A dangerous one is I'll often see statements like, "As a woman, I can't go out at night like you can," or "It's not something I have to worry about because I'm male." If you're male, you're statistically more likely to be attacked or murdered by strangers. You need to watch out for yourself still and take what precautions you can. TV shows, movies, books, and in many cases the news itself has created a very common distortion to perceived risk by both men and women. Due to men very rarely being portrayed as victims of crime, it has given society the impression that women are in danger and men are not. Story 27. That being emotionally vulnerable is always for us. Sometimes I need to share, but sometimes I'd rather deal with it myself for 1 hour, instead of making it into a whole thing that now will take 3 hours. Sometimes it just seems like women have a lust for emotional intimacy, regardless of how it makes the man feel. Because we have to be selective about what we share, enough to make you feel validated and intimate, but not enough to make us unattractive. Story 28. That we cry. It's often misunderstood because sometimes we do something similar with our eyes, where salty water comes out. It's not exactly crying because we don't control it, and it's really strong and manly and cool and also just very hygienic because it cleans out the weakness from our souls, which makes us even more stronger and manlier and cooler. So don't confuse it with crying because men don't do that. The process is also very private and happens in situations when other people, who are not men, would have strong feelings or an inhuman amount of pain. So it's easy to be confused with crying, which we don't do, ever. Because it is so private and uncontrolled, you should never judge a man who does it in front of you. And actually, you should feel honored for getting to see it happen, because it's very strong and manly and cool and personal. Story 29. That being a man is easy, everything gets handed to us, and we've got it made. Being a man is very stressful and isolating. Ultimately, when all is said and done, no one gives a shit about you. Women lean on each for emotional support. You do that with your friends, and the clock is ticking such that if you go to the well too often, you become a liability to your friends and they will move on. Your friends only love you insofar as you're not a liability to them. That's deep down why guys try to be funny with each other. You're building a bank of goodwill so that you're entertaining to be around and aren't a liability. That's just one example. Story 30. Oh, I bawled my eyes out in the middle of a restaurant the day after my very good friend died. I was visiting my sis in Houston, and I had flown out the day he passed away. Still don't know how I held my composure on the plane. But the next day, man, I lost it. And when I was in front of the restaurant on the sidewalk, just sobbing like crazy, while my mom was inside waiting on the food to be ready, which she then ordered to go, people of all walks of life came up to me to console me and made sure I was good before they took their next step to get to wherever they were going. Love that Southern hospitality. Story 31. 1. We all like the same things such as sports, cars, or combat. 2. We're all physically capable to do anything, some of us physically challenged due to old injuries. 3. We're not physically able to have feelings. We do, but we process our emotions differently. 4. We're not listening. We're listening, but we may forget what we're told because we may start thinking of something completely random that we find funny/weird/stupid at that moment in time, and just asking to double check to be sure of what we heard. Story 32. I'm pretty sure John F. Kennedy birthed the popular concept of blue balls with his statement about how he gets terrible headaches within 2 days if he doesn't get to have sex or whatever. And I'm pretty sure whatever few scientists that did whatever bullshit small studies there are were also men who also wished for such a convenient truth. I'm also convinced men scientists quietly and silently, likely unanimously decided to record the average penis size as slightly smaller than their average size penises. I think it's more likely 6.5, like most sexually experienced people insist, but also that there's way more extreme variation than most people realize. As in, I don't think there's a ton of people actually with the technical average length. That's a whole different thing though, just loosely related. I learned that a lot of popular statements about sex and the sexes were myths when I started working in adult entertainment and paying most my bills with porn. For example, dudes pause mid-stroke in super hot, dolled-up model actresses with world-class sloppy throat fuck tolerances to reshoot or adjust angles or let the cameraman take a piss or to just stop because that was the scene. Literally not come for 4 hours doing this constantly, and literally none of them ever have to address anything like blue balls. No one's icing testicles between scenes. It's literally never been a thing in any context for any of them. The closest thing is when I was redoing a pile driver close-up shot of uncomfortably intense strokes. The camera was specifically close up on my balls, lifting and slapping down on her wet ass pretty fast and hard. And we reshot this specific awkward hold and uncomfortably exaggerated ball-slapping long strokes like 5 times until they liked the look. And yes, my nuts were tender and sore for like a day and a half because of physical impacts. It never happens during normal shoots where you're saving a load for an intense facial scene or whatever. No coming between shoots. It's mildly annoying, sure, but absolutely no bullshit about trapped blood making your nuts swollen and sore from just not getting to nut. And I just need to so bad, lol, if it does exist. It's such a faint and negligible feeling that it's not something a person would notice unless they're really searching their soul deep for an excuse to beg for another crumb of pussy. That's literally it, and it's sad the lengths men go about it. I do, however, also fully believe in the placebo effect, and would not be surprised if men raised with this knowledge do experience maybe some kind of psychosomatic, triggered pain in that circumstance, having subconsciously anticipated and expected it. All the more reason to put it to rest. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it, be sure to write comments and share your stories.